Let's have fun.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all so much for joining us here for another episode of the Tyler Lennon Show. On behalf of Front Porch News and Chad's Media, I'm Tyler Lennon. We have a very special guest with us here tonight. Y'all already know the drill, nothing but illustrious guest. The trend continues here tonight. It is the good homie, Ryan Humphries. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? It's an honor to be asked. I'm your second guest. That's pretty cool.
I would have loved for you to have been the first.
Yes,
no offense to Cade. Shout out to Cade.
I'm glad that I'm home. I'm glad that I'm doing this in Silver Springs. We're together. We've been talking about it for a little while now, so it's cool to finally get to do this in person.
Absolutely. I did want to give a couple disclaimers before we get started. This is a live show, by the way, so if you're watching live, thank you so much. For those of you that are watching on a rewatch, we appreciate that as well. The one thing you're missing out on, though, is the ability to ask us live questions. So please get active in the chat. That's on Chad, so please don't make his job too hard. But any questions, hopefully I'm going to get to everything you want to hear tonight, but I'm sure I'm bound to miss something. So any questions you want to ask Ryan, please ask those. Also, I wanted to say this is, like you mentioned, kind of something that's been in the making for like a long time. Obviously, I've known you like forever.
Yep.
But we actually did pretty much this exact same interview a few months ago.
Well, we wish that it was a podcast or a live episode, because what was a 10-minute or 15-minute max phone call turned into an hour and 15-minute phone call.
Right.
And I wish that could have been recorded, the whole thing, but hopefully tonight's just as good. Yeah.
So that's the thing I wanted to explain. So this was actually for a magazine, and for people that don't know, if you've never done this, you wouldn't know that. But when I interview people for like a feature story or whatever, that kind of thing usually lasts 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, and I've done like 1,000 of them. The longest one I've ever done, I think, was maybe with like Keenan Clayton, and it went 30, 35 minutes. So when I was setting that up with you, I was like, man, I know you're busy. I know you only have so much time. It's going to take like maybe 30 minutes. And then we went like after a whole hour. I was like, okay, I should probably let you go. But,
that was, I really enjoyed that first off. And then, the magazine, the story that you put together was really cool. Obviously you could tell the time and the effort that you put into that to kind of make my story come to life, if you will.
I would say you made that very easy on me.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, that interview went like a whole hour, and the whole time we were like, it would be awesome if this were a podcast. So the second I got hired over here at Front Porch News and Chad's Media, and we decided the idea for the Tyler Lennon Show, they're like, all right, who's going to be some guests? Immediately I was like, oh, well, Ryan is going to be, if not my first guest, the first second.
Well, I
we can
appreciate
get you
that.
in here.
I appreciate that.
Real quick, just for anybody that doesn't know, I assume that applies to nobody that's watching this, but on the off chance there is someone who's just a fan of Chad's Media or the Tyler Lennon Show, let's say they don't know you. Ryan, can you give us a quick introduction of yourself, and then we'll get into the like specifics and everything?
Well, I'm as we've heard, I'm Ryan Humphries, born and raised in Sulphur Springs. I graduated in 2018. I go to Sam Houston State now on the football team. That's
on
obviously
the
defending national champion football team. That's obviously a big part of my life. I've got a mother and a father. They're here tonight. Tori and Deidre Humphries. Lauren Humphries, my sister. Her husband, Jocko Spatero. I guess I called her Lauren Humphries. It's Lauren Spatero. Now I do that all the time. But yeah, just I'm excited to be here. Like I said, I have my own podcast, Walk on Radio. That's done really well in the last, 18 to 20 months. Kind of just a side thing that blew up. If you haven't heard about it, it's a football-based podcast that me and a teammate, Dalton Meyer, we started together, and it's kind of taken off. So that's been a fun ride.
Y'all are killing it, by the way.
Yeah, anybody that willingly wants to hear me talk about football, I greatly appreciate them, because I'm going to talk about it regardless. So It's cooler if people listen. But So that's pretty much me. Hopefully you get to know a little bit more about me tonight.
Hopefully we're going to, for sure. I kind of want to start off, if you're cool with it, kind of going in chronological order, getting to where we're at now.
Okay.
Even want to bring up more about your podcast at some point. But I want to just start off. So you mentioned you're from here in Sulphur Springs and everything. And I mentioned that specifically with you because I think for a lot of people, like where you're from, that's what it is. That's where you're from. But with you, I think that's different. I think you growing up, I remember as a kid, like you wanted to be a Sulphur Springs Wildcat. That meant everything to you. And I think even now, like Sulphur Springs is not just where you grew up. Like it played a big role in who you are today and like why you are the way you are. Yeah,
no doubt. Sulphur Springs is definitely something that I'm passionate about, and I have been, like you said, since I was little. I always dreamed of playing on Friday nights. I always dreamed of pitching for big baseball games and basketball games and whatever. And I think partly that's because I grew up around it. I was always, my parents were involved. I have an older sister, but I just seemed to always be around it. I guess the earliest Sulphur Springs Wildcat memory I have, I was the ball boy on the basketball team when Rusty Harden was the head coach. I kind of befriended a player, and now me and him are lifelong friends. Bradley Washington, a Sulphur Springs basketball great. Me and him are. I talked to him 2 days ago, probably. So that just little things like that, and growing up and watching the state championship team in 2008. Just different things that kind of immersed me in what being a Sulphur Springs Wildcat meant.
Well, I feel like that happened at like a perfect time in your life because
you
were the kind of age that like that would have been so influential and something that you could look up to and be like, one day here in a few years, like I'm gonna get to be this, like the state champion Sulphur Springs Wildcats.
No doubt, man, and that's definitely something. Like I said, I have a lot of pride in, and not just Sulphur Springs athletics, but Sulphur Springs as a community. It's such a, there's just been so many examples in my life that, wow, I feel fortunate that's where I'm from. That's the community that I have around me, and there's so many great people that want good for the community. Obviously, Chad is one of those, and I think the world of him and what he's done in the last 5 years or 10 years
right.
or whatever. But it's so tight knit. There's things. 3 years. Okay, 3 years.
So
there you go.
It's just 5 or 10 years worth of work all crammed into 3 years.
Right. But anyways, there's just there's it's not a tiny town. I mean, it's a 5A high school,
right,
so there's people here, but it feels like everyone's rooting for you. Everyone has your back, and I think that's pretty unique.
That is another thing I kind of want to ask you. And remember, feel free to ask questions in the live chat. Generally speaking, this is the Tyler Lennon Show is kind of an interview style, like that's the format. But I think with you and you, as you mentioned, and we're going to talk about it more, you have your own podcast. I have my own podcast as well, the Lennon Closet.
Great name, by the way.
Thank you.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
I'm wearing the hat and everything. But I think the idea is I want this to be an interview style show, but because we're both that way, I think at some point it's maybe going to flow into just a more kind of free flow, like podcast type of deal.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned all the support and everything. How much have you been able to feel that since you've been gone?
Well, tremendously. And just, I can think of all the text messages that I've gotten, and not just big games, but just a random, week 3 game, or not just when we won the national championship or things like that. But obviously that was a big moment. So a lot of those come to mind, and the best one, and it almost brought me to tears. It's probably one of the coolest gestures and somebody that I don't even really have that much of a personal relationship with. But after we won the national championship, and I can't. Do you remember their name? They rushed up to Guarantee Bond Bank. Last name.
Brandon last
we
name.
went blank. Brandon Williams. And sorry for forgetting the name, but Brandon Williams. He rushed up to Guarantee Bond Bank, and they always have the green neon lights.
Right.
Well, he lit it up orange. Sam Houston Bearcat orange.
Right.
And so just little things like that. And that goes back to what I said, that Sulphur Springs is just such a supportive community. And I don't even know that guy on a personal level, but just because he knew I was a Silver Springs native, and that was obviously a big deal in my life, he made it a big deal in his life, and for the community of Silver Springs. And so I always get, think about that one, and that was a pretty awesome gesture.
I wanted to ask you, so from the time I've known you, and again, you were probably like 7 years old, but like you've been kind of all in on this. But at what point would you say, this is kind of a two-headed question, but at what point did you realize I'm going to dedicate everything I have to sports to trying to make it? And at what point did you realize this isn't something that can happen, it's something that's going to happen? I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah, and like you said, you've known me, so you've probably never seen me not playing a sport. I've been doing it for as long as I can remember. I played it in so many competitive settings. Since I was 4, and not just football, but basketball, baseball, and traveling all over Texas and the United States, just playing in all these tournaments and all these venues against all these great talented players, and so I fell in love with it. And I didn't. It wasn't just one sport; it was all the sports. How many things can I do and try to be the best that I can be at? And that was kind of my thing as a kid. And I took a lot of pride in that. And obviously, I'm a hardworking, driven guy, and I think that's where a lot of my success has come from. Everybody can be talented at things, but doing it. Will you do the work? Do you want to do the work?
See, that was the number one when I was interviewing you for that story. I also talked to Coach Owens, who obviously was your coach and the AD at the time, and that was the number one thing he kept emphasizing. And I just know if it were me, if I were the player that were in question, that would be the thing I would be the most proud of. And he kept going on and on about anything you were asked to do. You never had to be asked more than once. I mean, you looked at everything as like an opportunity. Oh, they want me to do this. That's an opportunity for me to get better, for us to get better as a team. And I think that's just kind of been your mindset in whatever you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to be a superstar. Everybody wants to get that promotion. Everybody wants to, make an A in a class. Everybody wants to get a raise in their salary. But what are you willing to do to get to that?
Right.
Because if it was given, not everybody would want it. People want desired things, but desired things come from hard work. And so, and back on the, when did I know that this is something I wanted to do? Again, you asked a great question to start about being a Silver Springs Wildcat, and I was around so many people that went off to college and played high level athletics. Tyreek Rollison, Willie Ivory, Larry Pryor, and those are just. There's a long list of guys that have gone on.
I mean, that 08 team alone had over a handful of players that went D1,
big time,
and other places.
And seeing that, I was like, man, why can't I do that? They're
This
from
is
Silver
something
Springs. I'm from Silver
why
Springs.
not you?
Why can't that be me?
Right.
And so I think that played a big role into it.
Was there a moment where it clicked, like, not that you want to, but like, I can do this. I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah, and I, without sounding whatever, I was a successful athlete growing up. I pretty much was winning at whatever we were playing in, whether it was baseball, basketball, ping pong, cornhole, whatever. I found a way to win. And so I think that when I got to high school and I had some success, I was like, there's no reason I can't do this. And that came from me being a hardworking person, but talent didn't hurt. But I think the bigger picture of it was the hard work and dedication of wanting to get to that level.
So before we move on to when you do get to Sam Houston State, I just want to ask, I know this is a tough question, maybe you only have one, maybe there's too many to count, but what were maybe some of your best memories of being a Silver Springs Wildcat? Because that was such a big deal to you to get to be that one day. What are some of your best memories of being a Silver Springs Wildcat?
Yeah, baseball, man, pitching. God, I pitched in some big games. I had a lot of success throwing. Obviously, anytime you got to throw at home, I love throwing at home crowd. And it just, like, I know my senior year, I got in such a role that it felt like, man, if we could score one run, we'd win tonight.
As long as I get one run.
Yeah, I need one run, and we'll win. And so that was a lot of cool memories. Played back-to-back playoffs, junior and senior year in baseball, back-to-back district titles. Football, made the playoffs after. Well, okay, here's a good memory. So sophomore year, second game, that'd be my second game ever on varsity. I catch 2 touchdowns and throw a touchdown at Sherman, and it was the only game we won that year. We won 1-9. We had 18 sophomores on varsity, obviously at the 5A level.
Right.
That's not ideal, especially in this part of Texas. You know, there's some talent in this
especially
area.
and no matter what the district was, Sulphur Springs always have been in a tough district, always playing against really, really good teams.
A lot of good talent in this area. I've played against lots of D1 or future D1 athletes. But you know, we go 1-9 sophomore year, and you know, after that, we just decided that won't happen again. It's not going to happen again. We're going to get to the playoffs. We'll figure it out. Go to our playoffs junior year. Go to our playoffs senior year. And so that was pretty cool. You know, I always thought that those teams that I was on, we did a lot with a little. And I don't mean a little, we didn't have good players. I mean, literally, we had far less people than the people in our district. I mean,
literally from a number standpoint.
From a number standpoint, we did a lot with a little.
I wanted to ask you, how do you end up at Sam Houston State? I know that was probably a very tough decision to make and everything. You're killing it in Sulphur Springs. You know you want to play at the next level. How do you arrive at Sam Houston State?
Well, so Sam Houston popped up on my radar because I really made Sam Houston pop up on my radar. It was kind of a, hey, I would love to go there. I'm just going to make them notice me. And so I definitely credit, and you know, a lot of people have asked me and my dad, you know, oh, how do we get people to see us? What's the best way to go about, you know, getting exposure for my kid or myself or whatever it may be? Man, you just kind of have to be obnoxious in posting stuff on social media, highlight tapes or workout videos, and I know that kind of gets redundant, and people are like, oh man, this guy again, but. At the end of the day, I don't really care. It's about, you know, my goals.
Right. This is your chance to make something happen.
And that's truly the way, especially in this day and age, social media is king when it comes to recruiting and college football or baseball or whatever. But yeah, to answer that question, so I had a wide array of different opportunities. You know, had a lot of success pitching, so I have 10 or 15 different baseball opportunities. I had a track offer to Dallas Baptist to run hurdles. But football was my love. I knew that I wanted to be a part of a major college football program, and that's what I wanted to do. But I was smaller. I played quarterback. You know, being a smaller quarterback, that's tough. That's tough. Now, where I separated myself was my outward willingness to, I don't care if I play quarterback. You get lots of people that hurt themselves because they're so stuck on,
I
have to be a quarterback. I have to be a quarterback. I don't care. It's like you said, I just, if I have the opportunity, I could just, whatever it is, I just want the opportunity.
Make the most out of it.
And so, being a smaller quarterback, I had some Division II opportunities, had some JUCO opportunities, D3 opportunities, and all those are great, and I'm so fortunate that I was given those opportunities, but that is not what I saw for myself. And so I was given, and like I said, they see my stuff on Twitter. They kind of contacted me, said that they'll be in touch, whatever. And I actually don't hear from them for a long time. Sam Houston. And I'm getting it's December, and so signing day is in February. So it's getting close.
You're kind of getting there.
I'm getting there. I get a call about 30 seconds before the national championship when Alabama and Georgia played. I get a text. I get a text from the offensive coordinator at Sam Houston. He said, "Hey, Ryan, are you busy?" He's like, "Give me a call when you get a chance." Obviously, I'm sprinting in the other room and calling before.
You put the national championship game on hold for a second?
I'm sprinting in the other room, and I'm calling immediately. And so that phone call was, that they're going to give me an opportunity. They want me to be a preferred walk-on. And again, foot in the door, that's all I needed.
Right.
That's all I felt like I needed. Just the opportunity, a roster spot, a spot at camp, just something like that. And so Sam Houston does that. I post it on my Twitter the next day. 15 minutes later, Texas State calls. Same opportunity. So I basically narrowed it down to Sam Houston and Texas State. I go on an official visit at Sam Houston. Love it. Fall in love with it. Commit. Tell Texas State I appreciate it.
Right.
Don't even go on a visit.
Didn't even visit, huh?
Nope. Sam Houston, I immediately fell in love with that. Fell in love with the coaching staff. Fell in love with the campus. Fell in love with the winning culture of Sam Houston.
Right.
You know, the tradition that they've had.
Because for as long as I can remember, I mean, Sam Houston has always had at least a good football program.
Well, especially in the last decade,
Right.
the success that they've been able to have was awesome. And so I was sold that that's what I was doing, and that's how I started my journey.
Okay, so you get there and you're redshirting your first year, right?
Yep.
Okay. One of the things we keep talking about is like any opportunity you get, you don't care what it is, you're going to make the most of it. Your first snap. Can you walk us through your first snap of college football? Because almost no one else in the world probably has this story.
Right.
And it's maybe the coolest story ever.
I would definitely say that no one's first collegiate snap was as cool as mine.
It's the coolest.
If so, let me know. But I'll rewind a little bit. You said I redshirted that year. And I first want to say that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. That was a year of in the weight room. That was a year of becoming adapted to the college athletic lifestyle.
Right.
Because it sucks. It sucks. It's hard. And number 3, and this was the biggest one. So I was the scout team quarterback for the year. So that means I basically mimic whichever opposing team quarterback
Whoever
we're
you're
facing
playing.
that week against the 1s and the 2s on defense.
That way they can kind of get a look at what they're going to see that week.
Right. And what that did is that put the ball in my hands every single day, every single play.
Right.
That was free. I mean, it was almost like free film for a year. Hey, for a year, I get to touch the ball every single play and try to do something with it against who we're calling our best players on the team. And so not only am I getting better, hopefully I'm giving them a good look, but the coaches are seeing that.
When you go to redshirt, that probably feels like, oh, this sucks, I'm going to have to do that. But that's amazing experience you're getting.
Again, I told you it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And had I not been the scout team quarterback, the last 4 years don't happen. And I truly believe that. And so, you know, if you're in that position right now, the grass is greener on the other side. But it's definitely something that it is what you make it. If you dread practice and you hate this and it sucks and this is unfair, your experience is going to suck. And something that I never struggled with because I went into it knowing this, but people that I came in with, people my age, recruits that I came in with, everyone's the best player at their high school.
Sure.
Everyone was the guy at their high school.
Right. You ask anybody that knows them, they're the best football player that they know.
You know, who came from Paris? Well, that guy. Who came from Rockwall? All these different places, they were the best player.
Right.
And so, you know, they're coming in thinking, oh, you know, I've arrived, blah, blah, blah. You're an 18-year-old kid
right.
playing with grown men that are at Sam Houston, a very successful football program. You're not as good as you think you are as an 18-year-old. I'm not saying there aren't freshmen that come in and can't make an impact, but you have to understand your place.
Right.
And so it's definitely an uphill climb. And what helped me in that is that I understood that quickly. But yeah, so a lot of success on scout team, did well, ran around. There were days where the defensive coaches were mad at me because I was having success, which was always fun. But
fair.
So last game of the season, I get approached by our offensive coordinator, and they want to run a trick play. They want to run a trick play where I'm out at receiver. They're going to throw me a backwards pass, and I'm gonna throw a double pass. I'm going to throw it again. Well, it's you know, we practiced it all week. I do well. They
In
let
your
me
head,
know.
you're going through all this practice. In your head, you're like, this is something that may be going to happen. I might not
Well,
get the chance to do this.
first off, I'm terrified because if I mess this up,
Right.
that was my chance.
Right.
If I fumble the my catch part or throw a bad ball, they're not going to do it.
Right.
Because I'm the random walk-on freshman that they're sticking in for his first college snap ever. But I think we ran it maybe 3 times, so I threw it 3 times, went well. They let me know on Wednesday night maybe that I was going to travel and potentially.
So this is starting
This
to
might
become
happen.
maybe this might happen.
Yep, and so that's great. Obviously, I'm just elated to be on the bus,
Right.
traveling, whether I get in or not,
I mean,
whatever.
I guess this is your first time traveling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we're playing Houston Baptist at Houston Baptist, and first off, I'm the hotel part, all the eating and all that. I'm thinking this is great. I've made it. This is awesome. And so Houston Baptist, it gets on the hash that basically, and the hash in the yard line basically to where this is the spot. This is the spot. They call it. I run out there, and I'll tell you the truth, I don't remember much. I think there was just so many emotions going on
Right.
in that moment. I don't recall much. I know I caught it. I throw a 45-yard touchdown on my first collegiate snap ever. I don't remember running down to celebrate. That's all a blur. And then, I'm running to the sidelines, and I actually have a great video of this. Just the excitement that I got from all the older guys, from all the guys that had been playing all year, people that were in my grade, coaches. It was one of the top feelings in my athletic career. Like, man, if I don't ever do anything at Sam Houston again,
If you don't do anything
if
anywhere ever again,
if this is my Sam Houston moment, this is my claim to fame. This is it. It's a pretty cool way to go out.
It's a
if
pretty
this
awesome
is it,
one.
and obviously I knew that I still had a very uphill climb.
Right.
Like I said, I'm a random walk-on guy on a really talented Division I football program in the state of Texas. But if that was my claim to fame, it was a pretty cool one collegiate snap.
Right. Now, little did you know, at the time, you go on and more stuff is happening. I want to fast forward a little bit to this past, not the one we're in, but last season.
Yep.
That was when COVID was going on and everything, and y'all's season actually gets delayed
Yep.
at first.
Yep.
It gets moved back to the spring, I guess.
Yes.
What were the thoughts at that moment? Because I know, you spend all this time, you're getting ready for the season to start, and then you find out, it's not going to happen for another few months. I know that's got to be tough in that moment.
Yeah, so in 2019 we go 7-5. We lost 5 games by a total of 22 points, and so that's, as a football fan, that is, that
Right.
sucks. So we're one play away.
These are all one possession games.
We're 5 plays away essentially from being 12-0 and being the number 1 team in the country.
Right.
So we felt like we had the guys. We felt like, hey, we can do this, but obviously we weren't there yet. We were a couple pieces away, and so going into 2020, we're optimistic. We like our guys. Coaches we're good in the locker room. What a huge part of our success is just the locker room atmosphere that we have. Just how many people care for each other, how many people genuinely want people to succeed, and that's gotten us places that we could have never dreamed of. But so, like you said, season gets suspended because of COVID, or postponed, I should say, to the spring. And I think at that moment we all kind of took it as, okay, there's 2 ways we can do this. We can all be mad,
Right.
and gripe about how we gotta wait 3 more months, and we gotta practice for 3 more months, and the spring season, is it even gonna happen? Is it gonna be weird? We can do that, or we can say, hey, we just got 3 more months
Right.
to rally the troops, gear up, and let's go do this thing. And I think that we really embraced that. And I mean, obviously the results showed, but talking about the COVID part of it, it was weird. Small lift groups. I was wearing a mask to practice. We actually had we had a thing made to where the mask was attached to our face masks.
Oh, no way.
Which was weird, but just so many things, and getting tested. I think in the fall I got tested at least once a week, and then in the spring season I was getting tested 3, maybe 4 times a week.
Oh, wow.
So just so many different things going on during that.
So you come out after all this time, this 3 more months of practice, the season finally comes, and you have a very tough schedule to start the year.
Yep.
You come out in your first 2 weeks, you're playing number 18 in the nation, Southeastern Louisiana.
Yep.
And then Nichols, it was number 7 at the time.
Right.
How are y'all looking at this to start the year? This is our schedule. This is going to be tough. I mean, what are the thoughts there before you even get to these games?
Well, and I'm sure he's not, but if my head coach, Coach Keeler, is listening, he loves telling all of the adversity that we went through outside of the actual football game. So before we had played a snap in this spring season, we had gone through one of the craziest ice storms in Texas history. Power is out all across Texas. We've got guys that don't have running water for weeks.
Right.
We're going through camp, and we don't have running water. Now, the big adversity thing that we went through, and I don't think people, unless you're a part of a college football team or a college athletic team, you can't really understand fully how hard this was. But we didn't have a locker room. No locker room. And so what that means is you're doing your own laundry every single day. And I know that sounds like, people do their laundry. But that's every day of practice of the same 5 things that you put on for practice. That's every single day. I'm carrying my shoulder pad and helmet to my apartment and practice, and my apartment and practice.
Right.
And I felt, we're a Division I football program, and we're treating it like it's a Pop Warner game. I mean,
That's even at the high school level, you would have someone doing your laundry every day.
Exactly.
Your pads and stuff would already be where you needed it to be.
Exactly. So before we play a snap, we have all that. Excuse me. And our locker room is the weight room for home games. So before we play a snap again, air conditioning goes out in that weight room. So it's
because of course it would.
It's March and it's Texas. I'm in Huntsville, Texas. It's hot. And man, we just another bump in the road. It didn't matter, and we just wanted to play football. So tough opponent. We beat Southeastern Louisiana. We have a 4th down stand at the end of that game. Their quarterback actually goes on to win the FCS equivalent to the Heisman, which is the Walter Payton Award. So best player in the country. We beat them week 1. Week 2, we played Nichols, and that was kind of the moment that our group felt like, okay, this is a special group. We win that one, and they're 7 at the time, and people are kind of you read a lot, and people are picking Nichols as kind of a dark horse national championship team. Like, okay, this isn't the typical North Dakota State or James Madison,
right?
But this team, they've got the pieces, and so it's a big game. It's a home game. We feel like we have something to prove.
And you're coming off a big win the week before.
Coming off a big win, 71-17 that day, and immediately after that, we just kind of the tone was different.
Right.
You could feel, okay, this group, we can do something.
You've come out here, you opened the year with 2 ranked teams. You beat them both. One of them is a top 10 team, like you said, a dark horse to maybe win it all, and you beat them 71-17.
Yep.
So at this point, you come back and you win another one, 62-7. I mean, at this point, y'all are just rolling.
Right. And our schedule gets a little bit easier after that. But again, conference opponents, those are tricky. You know them, and on any given day, a team like that you're familiar with can beat you. But we were able to go through the regular season unscathed, and then it was playoff time, and so that's a new season in itself.
So what are the goals once you get to the playoffs? Because obviously your goal for the whole year would have been to make it to the playoffs. At this point, are you just one game at a time, or what are the goals? What are the expectations there?
Right. So we had, and Sam Houston has one of the best resumes in the last 10 years of going deep in the playoffs and making the playoffs. And so in 2018, we missed the playoffs. In 2019, we missed the playoffs. And so in 2020, or I guess we played in 2021, but it was a 2020 season, The goal was to make the playoffs.
Right.
We've got to make the playoffs. We've got to, let's go win conference. We're not thinking really about a national championship. We're thinking about we need to get in the playoffs. We need to go get to the dance.
Right.
And let's win conference. And we win conference. We actually clinch it the next to last game of the season. That was an awesome experience to be a part of a conference championship team. Those conference championship teams, they get to come back. They have days devoted to them. We had this season. We had the 91, the 2001, and 2011
cool. Yeah.
conference championships teams in town.
They get honored later on.
They get honored. Yes, I mean people talk about those teams. You get a ring.
Right.
So we're all excited. Obviously, that was cool to be a part of that. But little did I know. So we start the playoffs, and in the playoffs, and you said it. It was definitely one game at a time. It was one game at a time because. If you don't know, in the FCS, the way it works, first of all, way better than the college football playoff or the college football invitational that they do now that Alabama and Georgia are the first two invites every year. This is way better than that. If you don't know about it, I strongly urge you to research it and learn about it and watch it. It starts tomorrow. I would say outside of March Madness basketball, it's the greatest tournament in sports, and I don't know why. I don't know why FBS doesn't do that. I think that people would love that. But,
for sure.
Yeah, but anyway, so we go to Selection Sunday. That was a really cool experience. Obviously, we're on ESPN, and what was cool about that was, and I was a kid that watched anything and everything there was to do with sports, and so.
You grew up watching the
I
March
grew up
Madness,
watching March Madness selection show.
Sunday.
I grew up watching, finding out where's this team going, where's that team going. And there's a live camera streaming to ESPN, and I'm right there. And it's like, man, this is freaking awesome. This is awesome. And so we get the number 2 seed nationally going into the playoffs. And you'd think, okay, number 2 seed, going to be an easy road. Not going to be an easy road. And that one, I don't think anybody would admit it, but leaving the Selection Sunday room, it was kind of like we're number 2 seed in the country, but golly, look at this route that we've got to go.
Right.
And
of
so,
course, you make it to the playoffs. Everyone has a tough route. You're playing good teams, but looking at the schedule you got, it looks about as tough of a schedule as it possibly could have been.
Unreal. We start off with Monmouth, who was a top 10 team, and they were, on that day specifically, the day that we played them, they were as good as any team I've ever played against.
Really?
No doubt. I don't think they were as talented as the 3 teams we go on to be, but that day in Huntsville, Texas, when they traveled from New Jersey, they're one of the best teams I've ever played against.
Which I guess we should make sure people know, in these games, if you're the higher seed, you're not only the home team, like this is at home. You were playing
another
on
great
your field.
part of the FCS playoffs. Who doesn't want to see their team host a playoff game?
Right.
It was the playoff atmosphere was like nothing I had ever experienced. It was unreal, and this was all half capacity, and it was still the best atmospheres that I've ever been a part of. So we beat Monmouth. We get an interception on 4th down from the 10 maybe. Unreal. So we win that one on the last play of the game. And then the next one is against the 8 out of 9 time FCS national champs, the North Dakota State Bison.
You're talking about Carson Wentz.
Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Easton Stick. That's 3 current NFL quarterbacks. I would definitely
Even
argue.
if you don't know really anything about FCS, like who North Dakota State
you've heard
is.
of North Dakota State.
Right.
They win the national championship what seems like every year, and rightfully so. I mean, they've unbelievable program, and we knew that we had a lot better chance them coming to us than us going to them.
That had to be a huge advantage, them having to come down to Huntsville.
The home field thing was definitely something that it made what we did possible. I don't think going on the road, I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but I'm saying that we definitely would have it would have been tough. But
for sure,
this game, and I think at this point we've already been coined the cardiac cats because it just seemed like well, probably after this game is when people started saying that. But this one ended exciting. We scored a touchdown with a minute or two maybe. They've got the ball to go down and win the game. Defense gets a red zone stop. We win that one. We're going to the national semifinals.
So you mentioned that nickname. I want to point out, you mentioned earlier in the career losing all these really close games and everything. Like now you're winning super close games.
Right.
You're winning by 6, by 4.
The ball is bouncing our ways in these, and so but at the same time though, that just shows how close and how hard it is to win football games, because a year before we lose 5 games by 1 possession, and now we're in the national semifinals where we just won 2 games by 1 possession.
Right.
So it's just, man, winning is hard, and we talk about that, but one of the hardest wins came in the semifinals, and that's when number 1, James Madison.
So before this, you played North Dakota State, who is that team that's in there every year. You somehow, not somehow, but I mean, you beat them, and then now you get number 1.
Well, I said that North Dakota State had won 8 out of 9 national championships. Well, number 9 was James Madison.
Right.
So in the last 9 years, we've played the only national champions back-to-back. So not doing us any favors by being the number 2 team in the country. James Madison was 1 in the polls, but they actually were given the 3rd seed in the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually why they came to Huntsville. Again, That was huge. But this one did not go to plan. Long story short, we are going into halftime down by 21. Down by 21 at the half in the national semifinals on ABC.
Be honest with me. You're down by 21 at the half. Are there any moments at all where you're like, well, this might be it?
Well, so at halftime, we're sitting there in the weight room, not the locker room.
Not even in a locker room.
We don't have that. It did have AC at this point, so that was a plus.
It's a bonus.
But you're sitting there, and we get the ball in the second half. So I'm thinking, okay, we get the ball, we go score. It's a 2-possession game. We're fine. That doesn't happen. We go 3 and out. We punt.
Oh, wow.
5 minutes have gone by in the third quarter. 7 minutes have gone by in the third quarter. 10 minutes have gone by in the third quarter. We're still down by 21, okay? And in what I would call the craziest 3 minutes, definitely the craziest 3 minutes I've ever been a part of, but I would argue that it's one of the crazier 3 minutes in college football history. We have a 69-yard touchdown receiving.
Huge for the momentum.
Okay, we've chopped a little off the lead. We get a 3 and out. They punt it. 80-yard touchdown, punt return. Okay, all right. Now the crowd is jumping.
One possession game at this point.
Things are getting it's looking good. But at this point, we're probably 30 seconds left in the third quarter, so we're still losing. And we're about to go to the fourth. But glad we have the momentum.
Right.
We kick off, and I actually make, and at the time, I would say the Houston Baptist play was the biggest play I'd ever made.
Which, for the record, is, again, a 45-yard touchdown.
On my first college snap ever. And then
Pretty
in 2019, I know I'm backtracking here, but in 2019, I played quarterback, and we beat the number 9 team in the country as a former quarterback, turn receiver, return quarterback.
So you've had a couple pretty big moments.
Yeah, those are big. But then I definitely make my biggest moment as a Bearcat. And we kick off. Ball gets kind of caught up in the air. James Madison misplays it, and I recover a fumble. So we get the ball. We then go on.
Where do you recover this at?
Probably the 30-yard line.
Okay. So you're close to the red zone already.
And like you said, we've already had the momentum. Then this happens, and the stadium is just berserk. And the James Madison sideline.
Because again, for anyone that forgot, this is a home game, so the crowd is probably going
right.
wild.
It's unreal, like nothing I've ever experienced. That happens. We score to take the lead going into the fourth. So we cut the deficit and take the lead in
before we even get to the fourth quarter.
Before we even get to the fourth quarter. We go on, never give the lead back. They miss a field goal to tie it to go to overtime. Sam Houston is going to the national championship.
Okay, so you're going to the national championship. Now,
Yep.
before you even get there, what are Is there any moment of awe of like, okay, we made it this far, this is amazing, or are you still just like, no, we have to?
Man,
win?
I think, and the easy thing would have been to say, well, golly, we made the national championship.
Right.
This has been great.
I mean, how many people in the entire world can be like, hey, I made it to the national championship?
Right, and but that is not how our group took it. It was a lot more of we've come too far to come this far, and we knew that. Well, I mean, we had just won 3 games with our backs against the wall.
Right.
Whatever happens, we can do this. We can figure this out. We were for a real surprise.
So real quick, I want to set the scene if you don't mind. So all of these other games have been at home.
Yep.
This is the first one that's not going to be
neutral
at home.
site. Yep.
We're playing in Frisco.
Frisco, Texas, where at Toyota Stadium, where FC Dallas, the professional soccer team, plays. And so, first of all, it was really cool playing in Frisco because I grew up playing a lot of travel sports and whatever in the Dallas area. So to play the biggest sporting event in my entire life in a place that I grew up playing, pretty cool. On top of that,
you probably actually have a locker room this time, so that's
cool. A very cool locker room on this one. But on top of that, the cool, pre-national championship game part of this is we are staying at the Star, the world headquarters of my favorite, most beloved thing on this earth, the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
And so I'm just in awe. I mean, this is Christmas morning to me. I'm staying right where the Cowboys practice for my biggest sporting event of my life. This is freaking awesome.
That's scripted for you.
It couldn't have been scripted better.
Right.
Movies don't work out like that.
It would be unrealistic. It doesn't work out that way.
I'll throw another thing that is just unbelievable. 2 nights before the national championship, I meet Tony Romo.
What?
Outside of the Star.
We should have opened the show with meeting Tony Romo.
I mean, I've got my selfie with Tony Romo. I look at it way too often because I'm so proud. So proud that I got to meet Tony Romo. Love him. Most underappreciated quarterback ever. If you agree otherwise, I don't care. So
we don't care. Don't put it in the chat if you don't agree. We don't care.
Yeah, don't care. So national championship, Tyler. It's the most rain that I've ever. It can't possibly rain harder anywhere on earth than it was at the stadium for the national championship, and it was almost just like, man, this is what else could be thrown at us.
Any obstacle that can pop up is going to.
What does it matter? I mean, no locker room, ice storm, COVID. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Now, at one point, y'all ended up having a weather delay, right?
We have an hour and a half weather delay somewhere in the second quarter. And this was a first. I don't even know if this is. They don't do this in football games. It was weird, but we finished the second quarter after coming out from the 90-minute weather delay. No halftime.
Just kept playing. That was the weather delay. Essentially, was your halftime.
Correct, but still weird.
Right.
And so, definitely my first.
Okay, I want you to explain that to me. That has to be so weird. The second quarter ends, and instead of going to the locker room, or instead of you just. Keep playing football?
Either us or them took a knee, and then we kicked off and flipped sides and did all that, and it was really weird because I've played 1,000 football games in my life, and I've never not had a halftime. But so that happens. The weather is somewhat starting to clear up, and there's a point in time where we're about one play away from putting it out of reach.
Okay.
We have all the momentum. Everything's going our way, and man, we need one more play. This thing's over. And I'll be honest. There was a time where I was already thinking about, probably late in the third quarter, oh my gosh, we're going to do this.
Right.
I mean, it is going to happen. I'm going to be a national champion. We freaking did it. I was wrong. I was wrong to think that it was over because, a lot of things happen. We have to punt, and one of the greatest, had South Dakota State won, it would be the greatest play in their program's history. Their running back has an 85-yard rushing touchdown. Might I add, we have the best number 1 rushing defense in the country.
Oh, wow.
So things like this didn't happen to us.
Right.
They have an 85-yard rushing touchdown where he probably broke 8 or 9 tackles, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, he was on Barstool, he was ESPN, it was one of the greatest runs. It was very Marshawn Lynch-esque.
Okay.
I mean, it was
Just
that
not
good.
going down.
Stiff arms, just craziest thing I've ever seen. And I remember feeling like that's how we're going to lose the national championship. A play that wouldn't happen out of 100 times, 99 times that doesn't happen, and that's how we're going to lose.
So where are we at now? The score is what? There's how much time?
It is 21 to 15. 21-16. You're right. 21-16, and they score with 6.5 minutes to play.
6.5 minutes left.
6.5 minutes
And again,
to play.
like he had mentioned, y'all were up. You were one play away from putting it away.
Oh, I mean,
And
one
now-
play away from it, like, legitimately being over.
now you
Not
find
anything crazy
yourself-
could happen. It's over.
And now you're finding yourself down with a few minutes left.
21-16, and it's our backs are against the wall again.
Right.
And so we put together, just the craziest drive. I can't remember how many plays. I think 16 or 17 play drive.
At this
16 or
point, you're
17.
using the rest of the clock. You either score or it's over.
No, that's what it was. It was 16 or 17 play drive that we converted 2 fourth downs.
Oh, wow.
And I want to throw his name out there because he's one of my all-time best friends. But Eric Schmid, our quarterback, just gutsiest, most I'm not going to lose performance I've ever witnessed. And it just to be a part of that and to be. It was just like I was the fan in the moment. I mean, obviously I'm a player and I'm playing in the national championship, but sitting back and watching everything unfold it was something I'll never forget.
You're like kind of caught up in the moment and just
Unreal. And, we go on to throw a touchdown over the middle with 16 seconds to play to take the lead. And that's a sound that I'll never forget. And it's surreal because it is over at that point, and you know what's going to happen. We kick the ball off, whatever. They make a return. They have 2 plays, just kind of last second chance. Run a little hook and ladder. We tackle them. We win the national championship.
you're now a national champion.
And, probably the natural thing to do would be run around and act like a crazy person like the rest of my teammates did. But
Right.
and I'm not embarrassed to say this because, just in the moment, that was the emotion I was feeling. But I break down bawling. I'm bawling my eyes out. And there's actually a really great, embarrassing picture. And I am mid full tears on the sidelines, and I just kind of look and just take it all in. And again, it's something that I can't really describe, but I know how it felt and what I was thinking, and that's just something that I'll have with me forever.
Well, it's funny you say that because to me, like, obviously I've never been in that situation, but just being like a super nerdy and like love sports the way I do, that response makes more sense to me than anything. Like, I feel like that would be the natural thing to do more so than even running around and celebrating. Like, how would you not get caught up in that moment? I mean, everything you've ever worked for your entire life, like, it just happened.
Well, and that's the thing. It wasn't an accomplishment from what I had done in the last 6 months and what we had done as a team. It was an accomplishment that for 22 years I've been working to be a part of, and all the lifts and all the them driving me places all over America to play, and all the mornings that I had to wake up and go do stuff, and there were times that I didn't want to do it. There was times where I felt like it sucked, and I hate this, and I'm tired, but I kept going, and it was basically to get to this feeling, and chasing that feeling, knowing that there's a good shot you'll never get there because of how hard it is to get to a peak like that. I think that when I was at that peak, and when me and my teammates were at that peak, I was just overwhelmed with emotion. And I think that's what triggered just me breaking down and crying.
Fair. So the next thing that happens, Chad, I've done my job very poorly. You asked if there was anything I would like to have pulled up at any point. I should have had this ready to go. You win the national championship, and before you know it, you have a cowboy hat on and a cigar in your mouth.
Yes. The famous picture that.
Is there any way we can pull this up so Chad can pull it up? Do we have it anywhere, like on your Twitter? Or anything like this?
It's probably on my. It's definitely on my Instagram.
Before the end of the
know.
show, we'll have this ready, and I would like people to see that.
Now, if you look up any player on that roster that day, they all have the same cowboy hat and cigar picture with the trophy. But definitely was. I mean, that was awesome. And the cowboy hats, we got those when we got there at the hotel from the national championship, and that was something that, boy, I'm glad we won, because had we lost, I'd have never taken that out of my closet ever, because it was obviously tainted. But now it's the national championship winning hat, and so that's a fun keepsake. But I do love that picture. It's pretty cool. But the trophy presentation at the end there was awesome with the confetti. That's something again that you grow up seeing. Just with the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals or the World Series, and now I'm a part of something like that, and it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Chad, I got you right now. I'm about to make your job tougher again for a second time. I've done my job very poorly today. You're a national champion. You win the national championship, and what do you get? What do you get for winning the national championship?
So we get, and it was a little delayed because of the weird spring season, and it was May. It's not normally when a college football national championship is, but we actually got our rings, and this has been a couple weeks now. I think maybe 3 weeks, but we get our rings. We got replica national championship trophies. We got a very fancy watch that says national champion, and so just all these different keepsakes. But obviously, the ring is a very that's what you go for. You go for the ring.
And did you bring that with you here tonight?
I did.
Box.
Gotta close the box.
Yeah, close that box, because we gotta see it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Look at that box.
Which the box itself is amazing, but
The box is amazing. Yep. Pretty cool.
pretty cool. It's the coolest thing anyone in the world could own, if we're being honest. It's
I would
amazing.
say it is now undoubtedly my most prized possession.
Has to be.
Yeah.
So all of this happens, and you know that you're getting to come back for a year because you're in this unique position.
Yep.
You pretty much get to bring everybody back.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about is you're going to get an opportunity that really no one else in the entire world has ever gotten.
Well, that is, and that's what almost makes, the thought of winning a second one even more special. And that's because, like you said, it's the first time this has ever happened. We're playing 2 seasons in 1 calendar year.
Right.
I mean, body-wise, obviously we get a lot of questions, how are you holding up body-wise? How, physically, how do you feel? And
which are things no one would think of because no one had ever had to think of that before.
It's never been done. I would argue that, and I'm speaking for myself. I can't speak for everybody, but I would argue that the 2 seasons in 1 year has been tougher mentally than physically.
I can see that.
And the reason I say that is because, man, it feels like I've been in this same season for 2 years now, and it's all condensed into now 11 months. I just played my 20th game last weekend of the year. If you win
NFL players don't play 20 games a year.
21.
If you were to,
you win the Super Bowl, you play 21 games.
Bye, you would also have to have been a team that didn't get a bye. In the
Right.
round.
Yeah. So 21 games.
That's
so
tough.
if we go on to play in the national championship, we will have played 24 games in actually less than 12 months. 24 games in less than 12 months. It's never been done. We just broke the record a couple weeks ago of the most wins in a single calendar year.
That's awesome.
And so just all these crazy milestones because it's never been attempted, it's never been accomplished, and just to say that we're a part of a piece of history that notable it's awesome.
Again, I want to remind people, we may have been getting questions already. I have a few more, but at some point we're going to try to get to these questions that we have, so keep asking them. If y'all already have been. I want to ask, you do win the national championship and everything, and you're coming back for this second year. what are the expectations now? Because there were a few things that you kept saying to me in our interview that I thought really, really stuck out to me. But what's the mindset going into the second season?
Well, the mindset going into the second season is go win it again. And, you know, the coaches were adamant that they wanted us to enjoy winning the national championship. So we took the 1 month we had off, and we enjoyed the heck out of it. You know, I got the opportunity to go and meet the governor. I got to go to the state capitol. That was the most handshakes and smiles and pictures that I've ever had to do. But really neat experience. I was asked to do a little, I guess, what would you call it, an episode. So there's a show on Amazon Prime called The College Tour. And they had Sam Houston was on there, and I had about a 5-minute episode on Sam Houston athletics, and it's all about, you know, kind of my story and Sam Houston and us winning the national championship. And so
is that out already, or when does
no, it's out.
So
you can
y'all
find
can
it
literally go on Amazon Prime right now. When the show's over, watch the rest of the show, please.
Yep, the College Tour, Sam Houston State. I'll be on there. So a lot of different things like that were new to me that I had never experienced, and so that was really neat. But yeah, so, and I assume this is what you're asking about. Our coaches wanted it to be known that, you know, you always hear we're the defending national champions. Our coaches were adamant that, you know, we're not defending anything from last year. Last year's over. We won the national championship last year. No one can ever take that from us. We don't have to defend anything. We're going to attack this national championship. We're gonna go out and take this one too. And it happens one game at a time. Obviously, you can't. You know, in week 2 of the season, we can't be worrying about what's happening in December.
Right.
Because, you know, our coaches always say one play can change a game and one game can change a season. And that's football. I mean,
especially in college football, like you said, one game really could change, your entire season.
And especially us who's at the top, but in college football, you know, it happens every weekend. Teams that aren't as good as the teams they're playing upset them. It's a normal college football
every
thing,
weekend.
And so that's why we have to attack it. We can't defend anything. We got to go get it because now all of a sudden we are public enemy number one in the country. We have our game is essentially everyone's Super Bowl, and that's not us being
literally. There's not a team on your schedule that looks at your schedule and you aren't the team they're trying to beat. It's everybody.
We always talk about how our name is circled in red. Ours, even if a team is 1-9, it'd be really cool if you took down. It'd be really cool if you took down the national champs, and that we could feel that we got everyone's best effort. There were games. It happened all season where we would start slow because man, they're throwing a lot of stuff at us. Like they're really geared up for this one. Obviously, we were able to go through the season unscathed again, undefeated regular season.
I want to mention real quick. You talk about attacking was the key phrase. You come out and do exactly that. You win your first 3 games all by double digits. A lot of them by 30, 40 points. You finally had one tough game, your 4th game of the year against SFA.
Yep.
But you win that one, and then it's right back to you win 41-7, 42-7, 45-27, 59-10. These are all literally every single one of them except one you win by double digits.
Yep. And so the funny part about that is, and I'm not trying to say that whatever we expect to win all this stuff because I'm sitting here talking about how hard it is to win, but this is where the mental part is tough because a lot of teams on that schedule, we knew we were better than. We had more talent than these guys. And so mentally, it's hard to get up 20 times in a row. We've done it 20 times this year. It's hard to mentally get up and ready for, a team that we know we should beat.
Especially when, like you said, this is everything to them. They can beat y'all. They're coming with everything they have. They are ready.
Exactly. And that was hard. That was tough. There were times where I think you could probably feel the boredom's not the right word, but just I guess lackadaisical. It didn't feel like a playoff atmosphere, and I think that's more so because we have bigger goals. We were able to win the conference championship, but we definitely weren't as excited as we were last year. I remember last year we were smoking cigars in the locker room after the conference championship because it was awesome. You know, we hadn't been a part of something like that, and it was a neat experience. But this year, took some pictures. You know, everybody.
It's like, we won conference. Of course, we're going to win conference.
Everybody made their conference championship post. We'll get a conference championship ring, and that's. Obviously, I'm grateful that we did that.
You're going to start running out of fingers, bro.
Right. Well, that's a good problem to have. But, you know, I think – and so in this season, in the spring there were 16 teams in the playoffs. This season there's 24 teams in the playoffs. And so on Selection Sunday they give the top 8 seeds a bye, a first-round bye. We're 10-0. We're the defending national champions. We've won 21 games in a row. There's a good chance we're going to get the number 1 seed.
Right.
We were able to do that. And what that did is that gave us the reason I'm here right now.
I was about to say, that's why you're able to be here right now.
Exactly. And that is, I think that is going to be vital in going forward the next month. You know, what can we get to? And I think everybody needed a mental break. I think everybody needed to go home. I think everybody needed to just enjoy the weekend of watching other teams play and kind of the excitement. And next week will be the Sam Houston that won the national championship. It'll be the Sam Houston that made the 21-point comeback in the semifinals. That's the level of energy and excitement that you're going to get from us this will be the
most recharged you've been since you were trying to win it for the first time.
It's a 1-week season from here on out. If we lose, that's it.
Right.
I like something you said on one of your posts. I think you mentioned this. You said now all roads lead through Huntsville.
All roads lead through Huntsville, and that's the beauty of, you know, the amount of games we've won. We were able to get seated high enough, and now, as long as we keep winning, we'll stay in the state of Texas. We don't ever have to leave the comfort of our home, and that's an underrated thing because, and I know this now because it's my 4th year in college, and I understand things better than I did when I was 18. Going on the road sucks. It's hard. It's not getting on a bus the day of the game and you know, going to play a football game in a different stadium. At the collegiate level, it's you're getting on a bus the day before the game and you've got to drive 4, 5, 6 hours and you've got, you know, 3 hours worth of meeting at a hotel and you're eating hotel food and you're staying in a hotel bed and rooming with not a rando, but a different guy on the team and then the next morning you're getting up in that same bed and not your bed and you have to go get taped, and you've got to go to treatment, and you've got to go to more meetings and more meetings and more meetings. College sports has the most. Sometimes I don't know that I could possibly have another meeting, but they seem to find another time to meet. But going on the road is hard. It is so hard, and so again, our whatever we're able to get to this postseason, if it is national championship or whatever. A big part of the success is going to be because we get to stay in Huntsville, Texas.
Right. So we've got cigar cowboy picture.
Is that up right now?
So
okay.
It's up right now.
I do love that picture. I won't lie.
I love that.
That's a great picture.
I love that photo.
Yeah. Well, I hope I get to recreate that in a month.
I put that photo up there, and mind you, I'm an LSU fan. I put that photo up there with Joe Burrow, cross-legged, smoking the cigar.
Yeah,
those are awesome photos.
Yeah, no, in the locker room after the national championship. I'm sorry, FC Dallas. I appreciate you guys hosting us, but the locker room was trashed. Let me tell you a funny story. So, you know, we're doing the cliche, smoking the cigar with the trophy pick on the field. All that's fun. Somebody bought like a box of like 30 cigars, and so they're probably $1 cigars. Who knows? Whatever. But it's fun, and it's time to go back in the locker room. And I'm Mr. Follow the rules. So I'm thinking, man, should I put this out? Like I don't want to start like a fire alarm or something like that.
You can't be the
smoking
guy that
inside.
does
Like yeah,
you
like
can't
golly,
be the one that does
I don't want to put a damper on anybody's day. And so I'm walking in the locker room and I open the door. Whoosh! It's just the craziest. I'm like, what is going on? I mean, it's smoke, it's champagne, and credit to our guys. They must have been really confident that we were going to win because everybody came very prepared for the post-game festivities. And so there's champagne going everywhere. It's dripping off the ceiling. I'm like, golly, we are trashing this place. Like
right.
it is crazy. But again, that's just something that in the moment, it's just like, wow, like I can't believe that I am experiencing this because that's another thing. I'm watching sports. You always see the post-game trophy presentations. Everybody puts on the ski goggles and they're doing the champagne and smoking the cigars. And golly, I'm experiencing that. It's, unbelievable.
Right. So that catches us up to where we are now. Like we mentioned, you got a first-round bye.
Yep.
You will get the winner of Incarnate World and SFA. Obviously, depending on when you're watching this, I guess that's already happened. But if you're watching live, it hasn't happened yet. So not really sure exactly what's going to happen from here.
Right.
But I want to ask, I have some more questions, but if we have some from the chat that we need to get to.
So we've had a couple come in. One of them, the very first one, just right off the bat, some kid named Austin wanted to know how it feels to be Austin Chaney wants to know how it feels to be a national champion.
Well,
I feel like you've addressed that tonight.
Yeah, Austin. I that's my cousin.
Yes.
So it feels great, Austin. I'd love to do it again. And I think we've talked about that a lot tonight. Obviously, it's a surreal feeling, and it's something that can't be matched unless you literally match that.
Fair enough.
Another question came in, totally unrelated. Corey Hankins wants to know what you shot at the country club today.
I had another question about that. My fault.
Saw him at golf today. 3-man scramble. We shot 6 over. It's not bad. I'm not 6 over. Yeah, not under. Did you say under? No. 6 over.
He thought 6 under wasn't bad.
I'm flattered, but 6 over, that's not bad. I don't get to play a lot of golf in my free time. That's definitely something I want to get a lot better at whenever football is over. But hey, we had a fun time playing today.
On that same note, real quick, Mason asked me to ask you if you've ever shot a hole in one.
No,
I think he was just wanting to flex.
Well, he did have a hole in one last week. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Which apparently was his second, I believe.
That's cool. Mason's probably the only guy I know that can hit it farther than I can. And Mason's a great golfer. So, yeah, I mean he's good. That's Jocko's, my brother-in-law's best friend, and so I know Mason real well.
Okay. Here's a question. What is your favorite part of podcasting?
Favorite part of podcasting? Again, I think it's knowing that there's people that want to listen to my opinions regarding football. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna say them regardless. I'm an opinionative guy, especially in the sports world. But when people tweet at Walk On Radio, or they'll see me at football practice and they're like, "Oh, why'd you say this?" and "Why'd you say that?" That's really cool. That's pretty cool because not everybody's gonna agree with what I have to say.
Right.
But it's cool that they heard me say it. It's cool that they heard me say it.
I'm hoping beyond all hope that at some point you're going to dive deep into the yellow flag infested game that took place yesterday.
Do you want to go ahead and do that now?
Hey,
again, real quick, I have a couple more questions, and then I promise we'll get to it. You've not only won a conference championship and a national championship, but you've also won some individual awards as well.
Yep.
Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Holder of the year.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
Last year, I've been one of my many trades on the Sam Houston football team. I hold for PATs and field goals. Last year, I was voted the best holder in the country, so that's pretty cool. There's a lot more that goes into it than people think, what I go back and think to, if somebody thinks whatever, that's not that big of a deal. We win the national championship by 2 points against South Dakota State. Their holder botches 2 kicks.
Right.
Different game if that goes differently. And so obviously it's one of those kind of tongue-in-cheek positions that you only notice if something goes bad. And so thank God Thank God nothing's gone bad with mine.
Thank it. You're apparently the best there is at this.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, I like that. There is one good question here that just came in. Any worries about SFA and Colby Carthel?
Well,
if they win and you guys have to face them, he's been known to take
Can
those good
Can I
teams.
ask who asked that question?
Oh, I'm pretty sure you know.
Okay.
Who is it?
Uncle Drew.
Oh, okay. That's not who I was going to guess. Shout out.
Okay.
Shout out to Uncle Drew.
Uncle Drew.
Okay. Yeah. Well, SFA. First off, hats off to SFA for an awesome year. I mean, that's obviously our bitter rival. We've won 10 times in a row now, and so but Piney Woods is an experience that any Texas college football fan should experience. It's probably 30,000 fan game of half purple, half orange. I mean, it's Texas OU-esque.
It's the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome, and I've gotten to play in 2 of those, and so that's been a fun experience. This last one, a lot of people consider maybe the greatest Battle of the Piney Woods of all time, and so thinking about the opportunity to play SFA at our home in the playoffs is exciting. I mean, what a unique and hasn't happened thing that I could be a part of. And they've got a big one tomorrow. I mean, against Incarnate Word, who has a great offense. We know them. They were in our conference last year. That's the cool thing about the way that this worked out. We've played SFA for forever. We've played Incarnate Word for forever. And they've played us for forever. So we all know each other. There's not going to be any secrets. And so SFA is a talented football team. And like I've said, any given day, football is hard to win. It's hard to win. So anybody can beat anybody. Obviously, they're going to be geared up for that one. It's the playoffs. It's not. I'd like to think that it's more than a rivalry game. It's the next game to try to get to the next game, to win the national championship. And whoever it's against is going to be a big deal for us. And I know it's going to be a big deal for them. And Colby Carthel, he won the national championship in 2017 at Texas A&M Commerce. Great coach. Right. I mean, obviously, he's really turned around SFA football. They're not very good before he got there, and all of a sudden they're a playoff team. And so hats off to him. I'd love the opportunity to play him. I'd love the opportunity to play Incarnate Word. I'm glad that we're talking about it.
So you mentioned the thing about on any given day it's football. Anybody can beat anybody. Yesterday on Thanksgiving Day, the Dallas Cowboys are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders.
I feel like that was a low blow.
That's called a segue.
Man, I've been sitting on that. The second you said that phrase, I was like, all right, I'm going to sit on this. This is how I segue. What were the thoughts coming into this game? Because I remember, I guess the last time I did a podcast, and again, we've mentioned your podcast, Walk On Radio. Would you like to talk to us about that at all real quick? Or
I feel like we've talked about it enough.
I had kept saying going into the Chiefs game, so this was a couple weeks ago, I was saying I'm really excited for this game. The Cowboys, we haven't seen them against a lot of great teams yet, or not great teams that were playing great that day. So I thought, okay, no matter what happens against the Chiefs, you get a look at a really good team, and then you'll come back and play the Raiders. Hopefully that'll be a win. But the Raiders are a good team. I mean, what were the thoughts even coming into this game? Cowboys were a 7.5-point favorite. Everyone had them winning by double digits when you were watching on like the Fox pregame show.
Yeah. So first off, talking about the any given day thing, I think that's very apparent in the NFL because
especially this year.
Well, you've got 53 guys on the other side of the field that are getting paid multi-millions of dollars that are considered the best and the most elite athletes in the entire planet. So there's teams that are more successful than other teams, but nobody's bad. I don't think we need to throw the bad and terrible word around because those are professional athletes.
Even a team like the Lions, they're losing by like 3 points every week. Like
who would beat Georgia this year by 50?
For sure.
And so the NFL is unique. Obviously I'm a college football player and I walk on radio. We talk a lot of college football, but I'm an NFL guy. I'm real big into fantasy football. The Cowboys are I mean, that's like my whole life in sports watching, but I'm passionate about the NFL. But yeah, going into yesterday, it's obviously not a must win in week 12 leading your division. But I felt like, man, we really need to win this one to get back on
Agreed.
track. This was a big momentum, get back on the right track, finish down the stretch the right way after a tough loss to the Chiefs. And we lose 3 games before yesterday, and really none of those made me feel like I normally do when we lose, where it's just like a gut-wrenching,
That's
I
something,
don't know what to do with my life feeling. That's how
Right.
I get when the Cowboys lose.
Now, that's something we talked about earlier before we started the show. None of these losses, I mean, the Tampa Bay one, week 1, that was
Week
a good
1,
game.
you should have beat the defending Super Bowl champs
Right,
at
that's
their
actually
place.
kind of giving you momentum
I'm
moving
thinking,
forward.
okay, that's great.
The Broncos lost. You had won 6 in a row.
That's after 6 wins in a row. It was going to happen eventually. At the Chiefs, you don't have Amari Cooper. You don't have Randy Gregory. You don't have DeMarcus Lawrence.
Tyron
You don't have Tyron Smith. CeeDee Lamb goes out with a concussion.
Right.
It's at the Chiefs. They're the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, maybe the best player in the NFL. Okay, I can live with that. It's okay. We'll be fine. This one, you needed to figure out a way to win.
You did, and now you're at a point where even though none of those losses individually felt bad, you've now lost 3 of your last 4. With the one,
Well, you went
the
from
one in between would have been the 43-3 win over the Falcons,
Well,
but that's a bad Falcons.
You went from 6-1 to 7-4 like that,
Right.
and so and like we were talking about yesterday, 8-3 looks a heck of a lot better than 7-4.
It
and
does.
that's a 1-game difference, but just visually,
No,
8-3
visually
is like,
on
oh,
paper,
okay.
it looks a lot better.
No question.
And you would
No
currently
question.
be 3 games ahead in the. I mean, I'm not worried about the NFC East. Like you're winning the NFC East.
I'm
but-
worried about it.
Are you?
Not necessarily because of the Cowboys, but just the strength of schedule or lack of strength of schedule that the Eagles have, and they're playing well right now.
Fair.
I don't think they can catch the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are going to be fine. Anyone who is watching this should take a deep breath. It's going to be okay.
What did Aaron Rodgers tell us to do?
We're relaxed.
Relax.
Yeah, we're gonna get everybody back. We have good players. We're a young, talented team. I need everybody to relax, okay? And it's hard, Tyler. Where I'm living right now in Huntsville, Texas, I am alone down there. I'm ganged up on. Everybody loves coming to talk to Ryan when the Cowboys lose. No
Right.
one really has anything to say.
No one's tweeting at you when they win.
The 7 other times that they've won this season, but everybody loves picking on Ryan when they lose, and that's okay because
You can handle it.
I can handle it. I've been doing it for a long time.
Fair enough, you have.
But Cowboys fans, we don't really care. We don't
Right.
care what other people are doing.
That's fair.
Everybody seems so fixated on Cowboys fans. What did the Dolphins do this week? Do you know?
I
Because
have no
you're real big on what the Cowboys did this week,
Right.
but you don't seem too fixated on what the Arizona Cardinals are worrying about.
Right.
So that's how I feel. It's the life I've chose, and it's the life I love as a Cowboys fan. It'll
See-
pay off one day, Tyler Lennon.
I
One
hope
day
so.
it will pay off, and
I
I think
hope so.
I think it's sooner rather than later.
I have to say though, the part that worries me the most, looking at the rest of the schedule, is like I said, I'm not worried about the division. I think you win the division, but your remaining schedule is at Saints, at
Win,
Washington, at
win,
Giants,
Win.
versus Washington,
Win.
versus Arizona,
Okay.
Could go either way.
I'll say a loss on that one.
at Eagles. But I think my whole point is like you don't get another real test. So like you say you win all but one of these, all but 2 of these, like you win your division, you make the playoffs, but we haven't seen them play a good team in months. And the last time you saw them play a good team, you lost 2 games in a row.
But it's like, so if that's going to be your argument, then why can't it go for anyone that's playing against the Cowboys right now? We don't have our full group of guys.
Oh, you're right
So
about
we're not at full strength, and we're playing these teams, and we're missing 5 of the 10 or 11 best guys on our entire roster. Let me take 5 guys, your
Okay.
5 best players off, and we'll see how you guys
To
fare.
that point, I saw someone tweet after the Chiefs game. It was something like if you took away Tyreek Hill and started naming all these people, and it's like, you're right. People would.
Chiefs aren't quite as good, are they?
Right. But for
If
whatever
Tampa Bay
reason.
doesn't have their 5 best guys, are we
No, you're exactly right. I
are
don't
we
know.
thrashing them, or is it just because it's the Cowboys?
See, I think it is just because
It's
it's the
a
Cowboys.
war of attrition from day one in the NFL. It's a war of attrition. Who stays healthy? who
Yeah.
Oh,
doesn't
absolutely.
stay healthy. It's like you said. There's millions of dollars being spent on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
On both sides of the field. And
Right.
So those
Who
guys
can
come,
have
those
their-
guys come with pride.
Who can have their 53 best when the games really count?
Absolutely.
Who's
healthy? Who's
right.
ready to play?
Right. That's a
And-
big part
and
of
that's,
it.
That's the war. And at the end of the season, when you go into the playoffs, it's the healthier teams. It's the teams that are more prepared, or however you want to say it. Those guys are the ones that are able to move on to the next round.
No doubt. I 100% agree.
And the Cowboys have,
like it or not, or use it as an excuse or whatever you want, they've fought that for years.
No, I think that, and being a Cowboys fan, obviously I've experienced that. It just seems like we're always, because we have somebody hurt or one ball didn't roll our way, or
Right.
it's always something. And there's a reason we're not on the other side of that. One day it will click. I truly believe that it will click, but there's a reason. And that's why it's hard to win. It's hard to win football games. It's hard. And there's a reason the Cowboys haven't.
I do want to get your opinion on something.
Okay.
You've played a lot of quarterback. You've even played quarterback at the college level.
Yep.
What's wrong with Dak Prescott?
Nothing.
He has not looked good in a minute.
375 yards yesterday and
375
and,
yards
3 touchdowns.
yesterday.
That's not good.
But how often is he throwing behind receivers? How often? There's a lot.
Well,
I see receivers catch a lot of flack for you got your hand on it. You got to catch it.
I'll interrupt you there because here's why that's happening. Because he's throwing to 3 guys that you don't know their names. And in practice, he's throwing to 3 guys that you do know their names.
Fair.
Amari Cooper didn't play, CeeDee Lamb didn't play, and all of a sudden, we're relying on, Noah Brown, Cedric Wilson, Michael Gallup are not our main guys. We're relying on them to make catches and plays that Dak is used to repping with his guys. And just
Fair.
like Chad said, it's all about having your best 53 when the games count. Yesterday, didn't have our best 53. Dak, whatever. I agree with you. There were times where he was off, but it'd be like if he it's you got to know your personnel, and so it's different for everybody. And I think that's a perfect explanation for it.
Oh, no, I think you're exactly right because it was happening a lot in the Chiefs game too, but even in that Chiefs game, you didn't have Cooper. Lamb goes out midway through.
Exactly.
So a lot of what you're saying, I mean, that makes sense. I'll start to wrap this up a little bit, but we feel good about the Cowboys moving forward. We're going to get everybody back soon.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And I always laugh when people, when the Cowboys were 6-1 or whatever, people come up to me, well, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. I'm glad that you're attaching Super Bowl with that because no one has ever said that
Right.
the Lions aren't going to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Because there's no shot. It's not going to happen.
It's a given.
There's maybe 2 other teams. You might would say that about the Bucks or the Chiefs this year. Like, that's the only other teams like, I bet they don't win the Super Bowl.
I bet they don't win the Super Bowl. Well, that's because they have a shot. Because
Right.
they got a shot. You know in your heart, you wouldn't say that if you weren't a little on the side of, it might happen. It might happen.
Now, this is going to be a tough question to ask, but I just want your best guess. Let's say, the way I always frame these questions are, let's say there's $1,000 on the line. So, like, you can't be biased. You just kind of have to give what your honest opinion is. It's hard to answer because you don't know what the bracket's going to be. You don't know who they're going to have to play. But the Cowboys finish where this year? They make it to the playoffs. They lose in the second round, NFC Championship game. What is it?
Me and my dad have decided that a trip, and with this young, great, talented core group of guys that we have, the next 5 to 8 to 10 years are going to be a lot of fun. I think if you could get to the NFC Championship this year, that would go a long way in the future and the next 5-year outlook. If you could almost taste that Super Bowl, almost give everybody a little bit of motivation and prove that you can win a couple playoff games, get to that NFC Championship. If you come up short, that sucks, but you were 1 game away from tasting that Super Bowl. And so to me, my goal, my realistic, and obviously I want to win the Super Bowl, and I think
Right.
we can win the Super Bowl, but I'll go NFC Championship. That's my goal.
I 1,000% agree with what you're saying because, again, and it would depend on how it happened, what it looked like. But to me, I think if you do make it to the NFC Championship game, you can't feel bad about that. That's a ton of progress. I mean, when was the last time the Cowboys were in the NFC Championship? Like, that would be a huge step forward. And like you said, you're going to have...
Who knows?
1995.
Won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
You weren't even born yet.
Nope.
That's tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
But no, I think I agree with what you're saying. I think that would be huge. Ryan, before we get out of here, man, is there anything you want to plug? Where can we find you on Twitter? Where can we find your podcast?
I have a couple of questions before you go to that because
I like the questions.
A couple of them come in. This is a good one. Corey asked this: is there a team that you? And I know this is going to be hard for you to answer because you have that grit about you.
Okay.
But is there a team you do not want to face on the way to the championship?
The FCS playoffs? Is that any of the cliche answers, the North Dakota States, the James Madisons, the South Dakota States, we already did that last year. And so can't really have a tougher route than what we went through last year. And so there's definitely not a team that I don't want to face. You know, I would say that there's teams that I wouldn't want to go to their place. Obviously, North Dakota State has, and I know you're an A&M guy, and Kyle Field is freaking awesome. It's one of the craziest atmospheres. But the Fargo Dome in Fargo, North Dakota,
Insane.
Oh yeah. It is like nothing, and I've never experienced in person, but I've heard the horror stories from guys before me. I mean, you can't breathe. It's so loud. And so I wouldn't want to go there. I wouldn't want to go to Missoula, Montana. You know, they should have gotten College Game Day last week against Montana State. They even did a segment on College Game Day basically saying why they should have went to Missoula, Montana, because of how crazy of a fan atmosphere is. So definitely, to answer that question, no one that I'm worried about playing. I'm fortunate that we're at home, though, for sure.
Okay. Well, and this is the last one. And it was a great question. Uncle Drew brought it in, and he said, hang on. Let me find it. What did you ask, Uncle Drew? Oh, favorite memory from your days as a Wildcat?
Favorite memory is my days as a Wildcat. We talked about that a little bit. I'll get specific here. I would say that probably the best game I ever had as quarterback for the Wildcats, Pine Tree junior year. I have 317 yards passing, 15 for 19 maybe, 317 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 60 yards rushing, and a 52-yard rushing touchdown.
Give yourself a day.
That's a day. That was a fun one. Obviously, anytime you
Did you have yourself in fantasy that week?
I wish I did. But that was a lot of that was a fun one. But for a non-specific answer, man, all of it. Just playing, getting to play with guys like Simeon Taylor and Terrell Turman and you know, Tristan McCormick in baseball and getting to experience basketball with Victor Iwakor and Keaston Willis and guys like that. I mean, that's. Man, I was definitely blessed. I got to play against a lot of cool guys. I mean, every weekend he always is joking with me. We'll turn on a random game, and I'm like, oh man, I know the left guard. I played against him, and blah 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 blah. Or oh man, that coach he transferred from here. He coached me. Blah 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 blah. Every game it seems like that happens, and so just a lot of neat experiences.
It's awesome. Well, Ryan, dude, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry it went long. I'm just noticing that it's 8:30. So no,
I was gonna say, if anything, I apologize, y'all.
Hey, I could talk for as long as you guys would let me. But this was a lot of fun. Tyler, you do a great job. Chad, you do an awesome job. You guys are doing awesome things, and I really appreciate you guys having me on. I definitely plan on this not being the first thing that we do. I hope that I'm a part of other things in the future, but this was awesome, man.
Anytime we can get you here, we want you here. We need you to do us all a favor. Now y'all go win a few more football games.
Yep.
And then y'all come back.
We'll have
do part 2.
2021 recap.
Before we do get out of here, where can people find you? Anything you want to promote, your podcast and all that stuff?
Yep. Ryan Landry 6712 on Instagram. Ryan Landry 7 on Twitter, or I might have those backwards. I don't know. Ryan Humphries, you can figure it out. Walk On Radio is my podcast. Look us up, listen to us on Apple.
How often is this happening?
Weekly. We post weekly. Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere where you listen to podcasts. But yeah, that's really all I got. Go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats. Y'all go subscribe to Walk On Radio. Also, subscribe to The Linen Closet because I don't mind shamelessly plugging. Again, man, thank you so much for coming in. And for y'all watching, thank y'all so much for tuning in tonight. We already have our next show booked. That'll be next Thursday night. That is December 2nd at 7 p.m. We have the boys and the girls soccer teams here in Sulphur Springs. So that'll be a lot of fun. I was going to say they'll be here in studio. They may or may not be. That might be a fun secret or a fun surprise for y'all when y'all watch. So again, thank y'all so much for watching tonight, and hopefully we will see y'all then. Thank y'all.
That was fun. That was fun, man. I enjoyed the heck out of that.